a rest to nurse you from her breast. Many nights she woke up late and put you to rest. Many nights she grieved to see you grow from infancy. And many nights she wondered to know what will you be. So use your conscience and sympathy. God said to worship she and then go to him. Maako mohabbat madhulana, jo kar kaam kiya hai wo ribana. You may be the one they call him majesty. You may have money in a large quantity. You may have a friend in a high society. Don't be too proud to know whatever you may be. You may have riches to comfort your soul, but your mother is the master key of this world. माँ को मोहब्बत मत भुलाना, जो कर काम किया है वो रिबाना.
Well, everybody, welcome to it, and of course, good to have you here on New Era TT Radio, as we call it for sure, Net Radio, as we welcome you all inside of the Drivetime Exchange. Of course, this is where we have that conversation on a daily basis, well, Monday to Thursday, with none other than journalist extraordinaire, Mr. Tony Fraser. Tony, good afternoon to you.
Afternoon to you, Charlo. How are things going?
Coming along pretty good, actually. I am well.
All right, well, that's good news. This afternoon, we have to listen to the ladies, right?
Definitely.
I as a man, but I only chicken in my mouth every now and again. A serious conversation this afternoon. And actually, it's going to be in two parts. One this afternoon with a group of people, and tomorrow with another group. And what I am trying to get them, the participants in the program, to talk about the challenges, the expectations, the ambitions for their children. Mothers have all kinds of ambitions for their children, how they have, dealt with their children over the period, their glory days, their disappointments. I'm sure that there are disappointments at times. Wonderful thing about that, Charlo, which I'm sure you know, the disappointments don't last forever. They recover and they regain faith. They never lose faith in us men.
No, they don't.
Yeah, so that's the story this afternoon. And we have a wonderful group of people to tell us about their experiences. Priya Ganesh, who lives deep in the country. And what I like about this is that I've been able to get some people with different kinds of experiences. Priya, you were there. I saw your name up a moment ago. Just show your face. You're there?
I am here. Hi.
Wow,
Good afternoon, everybody.
All right.
Can you see me?
No, I'm not seeing you.
I can see you. You look quite beautiful, Mr. Fraser. Your hair looks fantastic.
There you are, man. You're coming down the grass and thing, but on the screen you have Laureli Madeira, who is from the Republic of Arima. That is what people from Arima, including her father, Jones Madeira, told me about Arima. Laureli, glad to have you with us this afternoon.
Good to be here.
And we also have Aisha Hunt. Aisha, are you there? Show your face, Aisha. I guess she'll show it.
Hi, you're hearing me?
I'm hearing you loud and there you are. Wonderful.
Hi.
Good to have you.
Well, I'm seeing everyone. Hi, happy to be here.
And we also have Rachel George, who is going to join us at a later point. She's a teacher and she had some classes to finish teaching. So she's going to join us in a moment. So, ladies, thank you very much for accepting the invitation to come talk about what I just said. What are your challenges? What were your expectations of your children when they before they came into the world and after they came into the world? How you've been able to manage them? I have children. I have young people, and I can't talk about managing them. They're more like managing me at this stage of my life. So tell us what give us a start. Let me go to Laureli first, who I know is not afraid to chat. She inherited that from her father. So, Laureli, start us off.
Okay. Motherhood for me, motherhood for me started at a very early age. I actually had my first daughter on my 19th birthday, which I think would have been the best birthday gift that someone could ever receive. She is now 31 years old. She's married, lives in the States. And she has turned, having her as as a child, she was never one to, you have the teenagers that give a lot of trouble and you have to talk 10 and 15 times. She was not one of those. She did very well in school. She attended Astra Girls College, went to Costat, and now she works in the States. She's done very well for herself. I also have a second daughter. She's 27. She gave me my first grandson, my only grandchild. She's also has done very well for herself. All my girls, actually. My last daughter is 22, and she's an interior designer, straight out of university. And they've all been very successful. I've never had, issues with them. The relationship that I have with my daughters is one of, I believe, I would call it friendship, sisterhood, sisterhood first, and then mother after, because I always welcome, and they also always welcome the open relationship that I would have with them, that they should be able to sit and talk to me about anything, and that's the relationship that we have had throughout, their growing up and their teen years, that they were able to come and sit and speak to me, about anything.
How did you cultivate that?
I have to say that it came from my father. While my mother played an integral role in my life, it was actually, I took pattern from my father. For him, I mean, everybody, he was my Superman. And, how can I say it? How can I explain? The role that he played in my life, the lessons taught, the way, the relationship that I had with him, I sought to inculcate that in my children's lives as well, because the role, a mother is important in a child's life, but so too also is a father, and my father played both roles, so I just trumped and followed suit, and it worked well, because as I said, my girls, the relationship that we've had, or we still do have, it's more of sistership than motherhood. Disciplining my girls has always been very easy for me. I've never had to, as the people would say, pull a belt. One strong word of caution and they'll say like, okay, yeah, this is wrong. We need to check ourselves, but yeah. And these days, I mean, growing young ladies up, this is a different time than, when our parents were growing us up as teenage girls. Now you have to be so involved. You need to be, their business must be your business, whether they like it or not. you
Okay.
know. Yeah.
And that's an important point that I am sure I'm going to return to as the discussion goes on. The last point you made about not, well, effectively not dictating to them in any rough kind of way. The one thing I would advise against, Laureli, is your phrase to trump and follow suit. I won't advise
Oh
you to
Lord.
trump. Just joking.
Got you.
Priya Ganesh, how are you, dear lady?
I am wonderful, Mr. Fraser. So happy
I,
to be here. This is
right.
my favorite topic ever in life,
Oh, okay,
right?
wonderful. I must tell
So
a little story about the first time I saw Priya many, many years ago. She was on a stage. There was a music band playing at somewhere down in Shagaramas, and my son
Freedom
was
Rain concert.
yeah. And she was busy up and down on the stage. I said, well, and she was chatting plenty. So when I thought about getting people today, I said, Priya is somebody that must be here. Welcome, Priya.
What a beautiful memory. So
Yeah.
that was Freedom Rain. I was the band manager of Renaissance. Everybody was
Right.
young. Everybody's in their 20s and stuff. And all these young bands, we went up to Shagaramas, I don't know, Anchorage or somewhere. And the organizers had let something slip between the cracks. And there was no tea. There was no tea and coffee and juice and water. And we all pooled our money. My group, we pooled our money and we got little things. And when we got back there, we were like cutting us one slice of pizza in two, and one and sharing their cup of coffee with three people. So all these singers had something hot because it's open air and that. And I remember you wrote about me in
Yes,
the
yes, yeah.
in you, and everybody
Because
said, "Oh my God, y'all, Tony Fraser wrote about Priya," and it was so that was epic. Yes, that was the first
yeah.
time.
So
The first time we had.
many years later, you've become a mummy, a mother.
Yeah,
Um, what do does your son call you incidentally? Mommy, mother, mom, what?
Priyasaurus, mommy girl, my darling mummy, um, ma. When being overly sarcastic with him.
Right.
Oh God, he's 9. He just turned 9 last month, and this childhood that we are having together, it is the
Mm-hmm.
best childhood. Like I thought, I mean, I've said on publicly that I had the best childhood. No, I didn't. I'm having the best childhood now with him, right? When you said this, Laura was talking about sisterhood. Raiden and I are best friends. We are lineman partners. We are best buds. Like there's nothing. All his friends in school, their parents get information about the kids from me because they all say the same thing. Wow, Raiden tells you everything. Raiden tells me everything. And I was hoping, like today, for us to meet up, for me to log on at 4. I was like, God, please let him come home early so I could get all the tea. I could hear
Okay.
everything, settle him
Right.
down, give him something to eat, and then log on because I just need to hear everything. He's
Right.
like, Mom, and today is so. And guess what? They didn't have ice cream. So instead of the $20 you gave me for ice cream to buy 2 ice creams, guess what I did? I bought $20 in mints. So, and I shared everybody. We all ate mints. So I have, it's a different life. Motherhood for me, my journey has been a little different. I wasn't able to work. I had to kind of make that choice. I don't have a lot of physical support. It's just me and him. So I decided to do, well, you know that I bake from home now. And that's a choice that I stand by. And this year, September, will be 10 years since I
Okay.
stopped my career, you know?
Right.
So
Yeah, I think the first time I saw you was at a function outside of that event at Shagaramas. The next time I saw you was at a Cuban function. You worked with the Cuban embassy, didn't you?
you wow, this is like a real love deposit that you remember the times that you met me. And this would have been 2009, 2010, 2011. Yeah.
To be a reporter, you have to have a good memory. So I'm blessed with a good memory.
Well,
Uh,
I am flattered because
right.
yes, I remember all the times I met you, and when you met the Cuban ambassador when I was working at the embassy,
Yeah.
and then at the
So,
Venezuelan embassy.
so Priya, how did you cultivate this relationship with your son?
I I don't know. I don't know. I ask him all the questions and he gives me all the answers. But one thing that I will say is that I have always treated him as a little person. Like he's always been a person to me. He's never been, I've never, the kids go through a phase sometimes where they say, no, no, no. Not mine, because I would say, do you even now? Do you want a green one? Do you want a pink one? Socks, shoes, even the Pampers when it was Cookie Monster or Elmo, right? I always gave him choices and we always had that rapport. What do you want? Do you want to go? Do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want red bottle? He has to drink a bottle of tea, right? But do you want the red bottle or the blue bottle? And just choices. And I tell people my kid had 2 tantrums in his whole life. One in a store and one I picked him up at 4 and the last time they had fed him was 12 o'clock in the day. So he went ballistic on me. But those are 2 tantrums, So I tell people I'm not doing it. God decided to bless me, to reward me because I've been a really good girl apparently and gave me the best kid ever. My kid I've never seen him angry and he's 9.
Okay, wonderful. Aisha Hunt, welcome to the program, and what's your story about motherhood?
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here and I'm enjoying these stories. You guys are giving me inspiration. I'm a young mom. I am a young mom of 2. I have a 4-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter. My son, he is on the spectrum, and my daughter, well, she's fine. But I like that you're saying everything is good and you had no issues, but I think it's a little challenging, especially, with my son. I won't say he is nonverbal, but he doesn't communicate as effectively like as his sister, who is younger than him. So, he will have tantrums, and I try to listen out. I try to tune in and understand what he may be going through. And even his sister, she acts like she's the older sister, even though she's just 2. And she will say, Izzy, don't do that. Izzy, stop. But I mean, for me, motherhood is one of the greatest roles I've ever delved in. It is challenging because I won't say I knew what was coming in terms of my son. I didn't know he was autistic until he was 3 years old when we got him diagnosed. So I didn't know what to expect. And then, with the additional challenge of him being on the spectrum, now it's like an extra curveball to learn, to understand, to grasp. And I think everything is like teaching me lessons. I like to look at it like that. Okay, so I may have to understand how a special needs person may react to the world. And now I have to stretch myself and understand my daughter. She's a girl. She like girly girl stuff. So it's a lot of stretching and self-learning and understanding people and, just showing love at the end of the day, despite differences and, as they go through their stages, I enjoy it. I thoroughly enjoy it, even though it has some moments where it's like, but I do enjoy it. I love being a mommy.
How do you feel, Aisha, about the challenges that must come to you as the parent of somebody with challenges? Do you feel that, I don't know, that you have to overcome this challenge with some special strengths and perhaps spirituality and all of that? Tell us.
Oh, yes, definitely. I consider myself a spiritual person. I pray all the time. I feel as if everything is for a reason. And even in the challenges, there are some key positives to look out for, because I know children who are on the spectrum have strengths in certain areas. So I tend to tune in a little more to find out, okay, what is his interest? What does he like? Okay, how can I push him in that area? And I think it is something that does test my patience. As I say, it stretches me. I have to be empathetic a little more in a different way. I have to, as I say, be patient. I have to do a lot of research because it's something I'm not familiar with in raising children, especially a special needs child, and well, my daughter. And it is a journey, but it's a journey that I wanted. And I am taking the cards as I get it and trying my best to find the resources and seek help that I think may contribute to him and both of them to strive. So it is something, but yeah, I am taking it as it comes.
Yeah. Laureli, what about the ambitions that you had still have undoubtedly for your children? Have they, well, first of all, I don't know, is it right to have ambitions in that kind of way? It may be that some parents go overboard. I want my child to be XYZ and push that XYZ to the limit, and notwithstanding whether the child wants ABC. How are your ambitions?
So I'll start off with my parents' ambitions for myself. My father always wanted me to be a lawyer. I always wanted to be a flight attendant, which I started off doing. And then when I had my first daughter, I realized that I don't want to leave this kid alone. I don't want to have to be 40,000 feet in the air and my child is on the ground, So then I got into media, which he was extremely proud of, because I guess it must have been the second best thing for him. My first daughter, I really wanted her to become a doctor. Reason being is that she's epileptic. She was diagnosed with epilepsy at the age of 16. Actually, we almost lost her at the age of 17 because because of the medication, she got toxic epidermal necrosis and Stevens-Johnson syndrome. And she had a combination of both. And the combination of both is deadly. In Trinidad, I understand that we had probably 11 people who were diagnosed with the illness, and only 2 survived. One of the 2 being my daughter. And this is in 2011. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I really pushed for her to become a doctor, and she wanted to become involved with the courts, which she eventually did. She was along the lines of the judiciary, and she's still doing that to this day. My second daughter, I wanted her to become a flight attendant. I pushed and pushed and pushed. But just like me, she ended up in media as well. So second best, fine, no worries. My third daughter, I tried the flight attendant thing again with her. And she started off, she was interested. And then, so she wanted to go to UE, and I said, oh, mommy, I'll do geography or geography in UE. I said, okay, great, you're on the right track. And then she comes out of UE and says, listen now, I get a little internship as an interior designer. What you think? I said, well, take the internship for now. Then 1 month after, she comes to me and she said, listen, the boss says I'm doing well. I think I'm going to stay here. I like interior designing. Now she's one of their lead interior designers. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I've pushed them. I tell them what I like. I told them what I would like for them to do. But in the end, Tony, it's all up to them. You can push as much as you want. It comes back to, you can have the child, but you cannot program the child's mind. If the child is hell-bent on, okay, I want to get into media, that's what they're going to do, and you can push as much as you want. They'll do what they want to do. They'll do what makes them comfortable. And I believe in once you're working or doing something that you love, you never work a day in your life. And if that is what they enjoy doing, then I support them 100%. And I've been supporting them, 100%. And they've been flourishing. Thank God. They've been doing very well. I'm super, super, super proud of my girls.
So the lesson here is that you can have ambitions for your children, but ultimately you have to allow them to make their own
You
determination.
have to allow them to grow. You need to allow them to grow, because sometimes you may think, like in my case, I believe probably I wanted to live curiously through my daughters being a flight attendant because I love flying, and it just maybe it just wasn't for them. It's just what it is, and they're
Yeah.
doing something that they love, and they're
Mhm.
enjoying their jobs. So it's all
That's
good.
important. Yeah.
It's
All right.
important.
Just to indicate to our listeners that we are doing a program hearing from mothers. I think Sunday is Mother's Day, the day that we celebrate and so on. And I thought rather than go down the road of Happy Mother's Day on all of that, not knocking it and just saying that instead to hear from some mothers as to their aspirations, their lives with their children, etc., etc. And you just heard from Laureli Madeira talking about her own three daughters, and we also have Priya Ganesh, and she has a son. As she said, he's 9 years old, so she can't be talking about what career he is doing aspiring to is a different story, and Aisha Hunt. And we can expect Rachel George to join us in a while. She's a teacher and she had some classes to deal with. So let's go to Priya. What do you, or do you have anything in your mind you would like to see that your son grew into?
So no, because motherhood has been a journey for me, right? And Aisha, my son was also, he has a preliminary diagnosis. So he has anxiety, and they say he's a high functioning autistic child with sensory issues. So they have to actually pinpoint what it is. So what that meant is basically for the first 3 years of his life, I had to carry him everywhere because everything, I'm one of those parents. I understand what it is to have to take 45 minutes to find the right pair of socks because of sensory issues. Certain fabrics, tags, but the fabrics, towels, certain smells, and you get into a car, So I do understand that. And the thing about the train, you see children on the spectrum, they like to make lines with stuff. So I'll come and like on my shoes, or there'll be a traffic jam of cars going through the house. And to teach different skills. I remember in the pandemic, gathering all my water containers when I was doing laundry, all my water containers, and letting him pour water, and him learning simple tasks like that, water and how red becomes pink, and when you add the water and different things. And I know this sounds crazy, but I used to hide toys in the fridge. I used to hide dinosaurs in the fridge to get him to eat different things because sensory things extended to food. But if his favorite dinosaur wanted to eat apples today or wanted to have carrots today, then maybe he would try it. So dealing with a child, like going through all those motions, that early development, that was something else. So I told him, I said, he wanted to drive a tractor for all years until he started school. That's all he ever wanted. He wanted to be a tractor man. And then there was something else. Then of course he wanted to be Spider-Man. That's a rite of passage. And he was really good at that. I'll say that. Jumping off the flexibility thing that comes with it. And then he's in scientist mode right now. So, and the thing about an only child that you all don't know, I guess, nobody here would know, is that you have to get into the mischief with them, right? If you leave an only child to do mischief by themselves, the house might burn down, So we had to do the fire together, the different colors. Green leaves burn different to brown leaves. Paper, regular white paper burns different. So I told them. People say, why? Like, people question my parenting. My child has had over 20 lighters already in his life, and in the grocery, we get funny looks. Do you want this one, babe? Mommy, can I have this lighter? He's 9, But all that is my journey. And one of the things that his dad would say to him is that he'll be a doctor, right? Or he'll be a lawyer and he'd do something. He'd be like, no, I'm going to be a scientist and I'm going to create a pill so that when you take the pill, you live for 100 more years. And that's what he wants to give me, right? I told him I want a jetpack. That's what I want. I want that jetpack to be able to not have to deal with traffic, put on my jetpack and go everywhere I have to go. And he said, sure. So my role as mom, which is very, very different from how I grew up, right? My timing is they clear the track and you have to walk in it. Now I say, where you want to go? What do you want to do? He has a hyperfixation on dinosaurs. From the time he was 6, he could spell Pachycephalosaurus and all the sauruses and all the, I don't know. He can name 50 dinosaurs. He owns so many dinosaurs. And every time, people say he doesn't need that much, but he's learning. And every time he got a new dinosaur, he learned to spell a new word. He learned a story about it. We had to read a new book. There was something and something. I know all the Camp Cretaceous characters. I've looked at all the Jurassic Park, every single thing you can think about. And that is, I am consumed by his passion. And I hope, and I say this to him, I hope that we'll always have that. I hope that wherever you go in this life, I hope you always come to tell me a business. I hope whatever you like, you tell me. So his favorite color is red. It's my least favorite color in the world. Right? My least favorite color in the world is red. My favorite thing to eat is caramel. He can't stand it. But we get along. This journey, I see how different. Like when Laureli was saying, you really don't make, you could make it sure, and our parents used to say that, you make sure you don't make them mind. Oh my gosh. I am learning so much about so much. Right?
How does a mother, and there's a question for everybody, how does a mother go through her life? Perhaps it stops at one point in time. Judging from my own wife, sometimes I have to intervene and say, well, they're kind of big man and woman now, you can't tell them what to do and so on. But how do you go about living your life for your children in a way, I suppose, suppressing your own needs and desires and all of that at points in time? Let me go to Aisha with that first.
Yes. Well, my children are only 4 and 2, so they don't really have much going on. My daughter, though, she's a fashionista. She always wants to put on a dress and get a little handbag with it. So, I mean, sometimes I have to tell her, no, Anaya, Anaya is her name. You're not going anywhere. You don't need to dress up and do all that. But then I see, this is an interest of hers. So let me try and push it. Okay, so she will wear 3 skirts all at once. And I'm like, okay, well, if that's what you like, we will do that. And my son,
did she get that from you, incidentally?
Well, that's what people will say. I mean, I like to dress, but not 3 skirts all at once. But she will get it good eventually. And my son to read, and I love to read to both of them. So I try to, every night I will have story time, and they look forward to that. So I'm not at the stage to say, okay, what they want to do, I will let them do. Like right now, I have a lot of authority over them because they're younger than 5. So Laura could probably expand on that a little more, or even your Priya, in terms of suppressing your feelings. And but yeah, that's just my take there.
Laureli?
So my girls and I have I don't want to call it a rule, but we say we speak every day. Sometimes we video call 3-4 times a day. We have a group chat. And I have a saying that I said, can I say respectfully? So my daughters still come to me for almost everything. My eldest daughter moved into her new house. She said, Mom, what do you think about the colors of this? And I always say, can I say respectfully? Because I don't want to bombard you with my, so I always, before I start the conversation, if they ask me, so I always say, can I say respectfully that I don't like this color? Or can I say respectfully that I really don't like how you handle this situation? I always, I kind of like, I ask for forgiveness before, just in case, should I offend? I'm putting out there, said, I'm coming to you respectfully, but I I have to say, the relationship that I have with my daughters, it is so open. It is so secure. I mean, if we agree to disagree, there is nothing like, I'm not talking to you today, not dealing with you today. If you're annoyed with me now, we'll fix it an hour afterwards. Because I always tell them life is too short and I'm not going to argue with anybody. So that's the stance that I have with my girls. Every time I have an opinion or I need to express an opinion, I always say, can I say respectfully? Or can I tell you respectfully?
Do they come to you when there are difficulties in their lives? Everybody has a difficulty here, there, and
Yes.
everywhere.
Yes. As I said, Tony, my girls, we talk at least 4 times for the day. We start off morning talk, morning prayer. We talk during the day. We talk every night before we go to sleep. I think I have the world's best son-in-law, my daughter's husband. And he always has to tell me, good night, mom, before before they go to bed at night. And he always tells me, he said, mom, you're the best mom. I look at you as my mom more than my mother-in-law, and that makes me feel good that I have such an impact, on their lives that my son-in-law can think of me as his mother, as I said, I have always kept an open, honest relationship with my girls, that they're able to tell me anything. There should be no discomfort. And I've inculcated that in them from teenage years, that there should be no discomfort, because that's what my father did with me. There should be no discomfort to come and sit down and say, listen, mom, so, I need help. Or can you guide me? And that is the relationship that we've always shared. And I always encourage mothers, sit with your kids. You need to be involved in your kid. Their business is your business, whether they like it or not. When they get to 24, 25 years old and they're working on their own, their business is still kind of your business, but you need to do, can I say respectfully, because when stuff comes up and the mess comes to the forefront, the first name they call, mommy, as big as they are, as old as I am. I always say, mom, ma, So I always encourage mothers to keep that closeness, that bond with their kids.
What about, Laureli, what about partners for your daughters? Sometimes that's a big issue with parents. I don't like that fellow we moving. I don't like this lady, how she moving. She ain't come from the right place, etc., etc. Did you intervene in that?
So my daughter's husband, they've known each other since they were 13. And now they're married. My second daughter, her boyfriend, they've known each other for probably maybe about the better part of 10 years. I don't go to my daughters. I go straight to the source. If I don't like you, I pull you aside, respectfully, with a smile, and say, listen, Hannah, I don't think this is gonna work, I was the intention, was the intention. But so far, so good. They've chosen well. So I haven't had to do that.
Yeah, that's interesting. It reminds me of many, many decades ago. I went out with a lady, and while I was waiting on her, the first time I went out with this lady, father came and asked me what were my intentions.
Was the intention? Yeah.
I never returned to the house. No, but that is interesting, because sometimes parents intervene in a kind of way, and that causes a lot of friction. In fact, So a young lady on this program a couple of days ago, was it this week or last week, talked about choosing a partner who was of a different ethnic group to her, and that has caused a lot of problems in the family to the point of not talking, some people not talking to her, etc., etc. So that's interesting. You didn't have to take on that challenge of different ethnicity and social class, I
No,
presume.
no,
Uh,
no, 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 no. My girls have done well. And if even there's an argument within their relationship, what is strange is that they both come to me, you know, and we have conversation, and I act as the mediator for the two, and say, listen, if my daughters are wrong, I say, listen, you're wrong. I do think you should have done it this way. So let's try it this way. If my son-in-laws are wrong, I say, listen, I do think you should have done it this way. Maybe try it this way. And, again, open dialogue, open relationship. They need to be able to trust you. Trust is the common denominator. Your
okay.
children need to be able to trust you.
So Aisha and Priya are a little bit distant from that kind of challenge that will come. But how are you planning to deal with it, Priya, when it comes, as it will?
How am I planning to deal with my son's
Getting into
rela-
a relationship.
romantic relationship? I told him, I said, listen, if she don't like your mother, you can't be with her. That's a starting point. That's it. Because I tell them, I said, you and I, sir, we are a package deal. All my
Yeah,
friends,
yeah.
it's just him and myself. We do every single thing together. If it's not a kid-friendly space, I'm not going. If it's going to be loud, I'm not going, because every single thing, I am responsible for every bedtime, every bath time, every meal, every single thing that he wears, every single thing that he eats. I am responsible for him completely. So that's this life that I have now. So you had asked the question, how did we adjust? I think Aisha was talking about it. How did we have to adjust our lives, right? So, and I had shared that story from the daycare when I got there at 4 o'clock, and they told me that they had fed him at 12 o'clock and given him nothing else. And well, Mr. Fraser, you know me, yes, I could fight him. I will drag somebody. And I say that all the time, right? Be very careful with me. Is that one child I made? I tried many times. That was not in the cards for me. I have had multiple miscarriages. God has given me one child. One child, don't play with my one piece, right? So when I say it, I mean it. And I am such a fierce person in general in life, and I'm big. I'm not a small woman, right? And my son is so fearless. My son is fearless because why? No matter what, he's safe because I'm his mom. My mommy, I and that. So, and I hope
So
that
so Priya, that's a contribution to his growth and development, is it?
that is.
Your fearlessness.
I certainly hope so. And I tell him we can do anything together. So I'll say this real quick. Last year, we had a fire here. Mr. Fraser, you know that. We had a fire at home, an explosion, and we were without electricity for 14 weeks. We lived in this house without electricity, right? No internet, nothing in the fridge. It was like homelessness, but with a home. And it was the hardest thing I have ever done. I mean, I thought potty training in 2019 was a killer, but that 14 weeks having to get up every day, pack up stuff, charge. We had rechargeable bulbs, we had the lantern things, and when TNTech came and reconnected us during the day, when they flipped the breaker switch thing, the lights didn't come on. And I called my electrician 25 times and he didn't answer. And a strange electrician who was a friend of a friend of a friend kind of thing came to my house at 10 o'clock in the night and did something and the lights came on. And when my son woke up after 14 weeks without lights, when he woke up in the night to use the bathroom, he lay down there and he said, "How is the fan on, Mom?" And I was next to him on the bed and I said, "Look, there's lights in the bathroom." And he looked at me and he said, "Oh my God, we did it. We did it." See, I get emotional thinking about that, right? My son, we made that into an adventure. He had his own torchlights. He was able to light candles. He had candles in his pockets, you know, and we did it. We could do anything. We did that together, you know. I don't like the dark. I'm afraid of the dark. I can't use the bathroom in the dark. I am afraid of the dark. I'm going to be 45 years old, right? And if it have no lights in the bathroom, I can't go. I can't use it. That's just how it is. And my son made sure that I always had a charged bulb in that bathroom. And I can't sleep in the dark, right? And my 8-year-old, he was 8 years old. And this child is a champion. So I think I see some of me in him, but I see some of just my gift from God in him too. You know, he's a real champion. You know, that is at his core. He's a champion. He's lovely.
Okay, so we are talking with a few moms about their experiences, about their own challenges, about their aspirations for their children, in terms of living their lives. And sometimes when children get a little bit bigger and they're not children anymore, they make a determination that, well, you shouldn't tell me how to live my life because I'm an adult now. And sometimes, as a father, I will say that if you do X, Y, Z, and it doesn't work out, don't blame me. I have had no problems with how you develop your own life because they are adults. One of them has 2 children and so on. So it's not a child parent kind of relationship. Aisha, you're looking forward to that kind of challenge. Sorry, just before you respond, we are waiting the arrival of Rachel George. She said she would be a little bit late.
Rachel
She's
is here
there,
with us, Mr. Fraser.
She came in a little while now, actually.
Nobody told me. So, Rachel, welcome to the program.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, we are here. Yeah, I'm seeing you. Say something because I had some bad audio from you a moment ago. Did you finish your activity?
I did.
Yeah. Charles, see if you could see if you could do something. We have an audio problem with you. I'm not hearing you very well, so they will attempt.
Yeah. Well, it's nothing. It's nothing that I can do on this end here. I think it's the internet connection where she is at.
It's on my side. It might be my connection.
Yeah, I don't know if you could
maybe you
move
need
your
to
position.
relocate somewhere because you're coming through very in a very difficult way, so that we can't hear you very well. Are you hearing us well? Okay, we're gonna have to, Charlo, see if we could speak to her off air and get her to relocate to some. Maybe the location is a difficult one. Yes, so we will come back to you. If you're hearing me, we'll come back to you when we attempt to fix the sound problem. Because we can't understand what you're saying very well. All right, I was going to who? Aisha. I was going to Aisha. You're a little bit distant from that time. But there's your son. Hi. What's his name? What's your name, young man?
Raiden.
Say that again.
Raiden.
Okay. And how are you?
Harrigan. Oh, you remember him from the cricket? We met him outside cricket. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is my wonderful human.
Wonderful. So Aisha, you heard the conversation a moment ago, and that's a little bit different from you now. That's a challenge that you will have to deal with. Has it gone on in your mind at all that there will come a point in time when your children will not need you in the way? Children never stop needing their parents, but of course the means and the ways change over a period of time. Have you reached that thought in your mind?
Oh yes, definitely. I know right now they are heavily depending on me for everything. I mean, food, clothes, everything. And I know that never ends because even at my age, I wish my mom was around. My mom passed away almost 4 years. So I'm like, I wish I had somebody I could depend on like that. But I know that it is coming, even now, like in school, talking about boys. My daughter, she talking about this boy is her best friend, and my son, well, girls find me so cute. And I'm like, you're in preschool. What is this? But I know that, what I'm doing is trying to instill certain values that will carry along throughout their life. So I'm hopefully training them in a right way that when they do reach that stage, I don't have to always be heavily involved. Of course, I will always be there. I will always be there for my children. But I'm hoping that all the lessons that I'm teaching them, all the values, all the morals, that when that time does come, they are able to stand on their own 2 feet and do what was taught all throughout their life and hopefully use their conscience. I try to teach them to pray, go with their spirituality and, trust in God. And I try to teach them all these things so that they could be good humans making me proud and making their family proud.
Yeah. Aisha, that's an interesting thing about the spirituality. Sometimes parents think that one, they should determine the development of spirituality in their children, and sometimes it's the other way around. Look, whatever you want to believe in, that's your problem. I am not part of that. You're comfortable with, trying to determine even at this point in time how they will develop in their spiritual lives.
Yeah, well, I am a Christian, so of course I will try to teach them, Christian ways in terms of, how to treat others, how to serve God, and how it will help them and, align them with their purpose and stuff. So I will teach them what I know, but I hope that if they do decide to go elsewhere, that is not a desire of mine at all, but I just try to teach them the benefits of having that relationship with God, of course.
Or Laureli?
And Tony, you've seen us, you've seen our spirituality, so we're well grounded. And my girls continue to, abide by their faith, and they do well.
And you don't feel the need to intervene in any way in that situation?
From a spiritual standpoint, no.
Okay.
No, because I always have to go back to my father, who instilled that in us, along with my mother. My mother more so than my father from the spiritual aspect. So it's something that we continue to do. It's something that is natural for us. So it's something that we continue to do, and my girls continue to do it as well.
Yeah. Chalu, any headway in that problem, that audio problem that we were getting from Aisha?
Well, no.
Not Aisha,
Rachel.
Sorry.
Well, yeah, no, she went back out of the chat, so I have to wait until she returns because there's nothing I can do about it personally here.
Okay.
Because everybody is basically coming in and the internet seems to be working well and strong.
It's a locational problem, I presume. I see from the picture she looks like she's in her vehicle because, as I indicated, she said she had some lessons to teach, so perhaps she couldn't get back home before all of that has happened. All right, we are talking with three mothers at this point in time, but we are expecting someone else to come in a moment. We are having audio problems with where she's located and all of that. And I'm asking, the question to everybody as to reflecting, especially Laureli, because the others are still, their children are still very young. Are you comfortable with your role as a mother? The thing looking back, past tense as it were, is that you did what you wanted to do or what you were required to do with your children?
I would have to answer yes to that, because my role as a mother was also the role of a father. So I've played both sides of the coin. And I am proud to say that I have literally raised my girls on my own. And I did a very good job. I am very proud of myself. I would not change anything. I would not change anything that I've done. As I said, the relationship that I have with my girls is really good. We continue to have a sisterhood. They give me the respect as a mother, although, we share a sisterly bond. We're still able to sit and talk, about everything. We've been able to grieve together as a family, because when I lost my father, it was almost as if they lost their father as well. So it was very hard for us. But again, we're strong in our faith, and as a family, we're very close knit, and it's because of that relationship that we have, that we're able to strengthen the bond, that mother-daughter bond, and that we're able to help each other, because we're still grieving, because it's 4 months fresh, and we're still grieving the loss of my dad. But as a family, we've become so much more close-knit. My girls and I have been so much more close-knit that, I believe it's an unbreakable bond. And it's something that I thank God for every single day, because there are some parents who don't have that type of relationship with their children, and I've seen in my lifetime some instances of children not taking care of their mother, not taking care of their parents, and I'm a daddy's girl, sorry to say, and that relationship, that motherly bond, that parental relationship is so important, and I really wish that, and I hope you have something for Father's Day as well, because, I believe, I always say, a child must have a mother, but the part of a father in that child's life is also so critical and so important, because as mothers, we believe they were these super moms, we could do everything.
Laureli,
big career.
You introduced a very sensitive subject there, and I'm
Yes.
happy you did rather than I doing it.
Yes.
There must be some real difficulties with a mother, having to raise her child or children, without the father being around. Sometimes you all think that we ain't important and we just there on the fringes and so on. But clearly you didn't think so. But how difficult that adds a burden, does it, to bring up children without another parent being present?
I can tell you, Tony, it was, and it is a sensitive topic for me, because although I was married, I raised my children on my own, literally. So it's a story of them being there, but at least still being absent. So you're still raising these girls on your own, and it is a very sensitive topic, but there is a strength. Women have a certain strength. Don't ask me where it comes from. I am not sure. If I find that place, I'm going to let you know. But women have a certain strength within them. We can carry, I believe that we can carry the world. You can throw anything at us. I believe that we can, I have met some strong women in my lifetime, my mother being one of them as well, that, any curveball that is thrown at them, the children are always protected. You become the forefront of anything that is being thrown at you. It is a motherly instinct that the children must always be protected. You could take anything and run with it, but the children remain at the forefront of always having to be protected.
Even at this stage, Priya, you are already displaying some of those characteristics about your son, to protect him notwithstanding. Yes?
Yes. You know, Laura, she touched on the daddy topic, and I went way far, 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 far. So my first sense of self, my first bit of a self-awareness that I remember as a child was becoming a big sister. Not a little sister. I have an older sister and I have two brothers after me. So my first sense of self was I was 3 when my brother was born, and then 5 when the other one was born. So my first sense of self was that protective, nurturing. So I've always, up until recently, I've always been that person, to be the protector, to be the nurturer, the feeder. All the friends would come to my home, to come to my apartment. I've always been that. And that's my first identity. And now that translates into motherhood as well. Very fierce, very protective, but also ready to hold the door open, right? And you can go through the door. I'm not necessarily pushing him in any particular direction, but definitely to walk with him and guide him through. So, the daddy topic is a whole show by itself, but also bullying in schools is a whole series that maybe we could look into, because he's experienced quite a bit of bullying in school, and not
that
so
will
much.
Send you crazy, Priya.
I actually thought I was having a heart attack the night. My chest was anxiety or panic or whatever it was, but he saw his friend being beaten, and my kid is a stick. Well, you see him, right? My kid is a stick, and he walked straight up to a child 5 times his size and walked into that fight, and I was like, that's what we talking about. Even if, and he got cuffed, he got kicked, he got dragged, he got his neck thing, and I told him, don't you ever watch somebody getting licks one-on-one, a big one, a small, don't you ever walk away from that in your life, child. And you wouldn't be able to call me mommy after that. I'm so proud of him. He looked like a dirty washcloth, like you clean windows with him. He was filthy. He had scratches on him. He was, and I was like, I am so proud of you. I hugged up my child and slept, and we had nightmares for about 2 weeks.
Laureli looks like she's having a fit. You want to tell us about why, Laureli?
Because I remember when my second daughter, she was going to St. Augustine Senior Comprehensive, and she must have been about 14, maybe 15. And there was a fight on the main road, and somebody sent me a video of the fight. And there is my girl in the middle of the fight, 2 girls fighting on the main road, and there is my daughter in the middle saying, don't hit her, I tell you, and jumping on the other girl to save the child from, and then I get a call, Miss Madera, you could come to the St. Joseph police station. I said, but my daughter was about, remember, we looked at the video because my daughter was pulling the people away from fighting. It's just a laugh. I just laughed at it. Just remember that fight.
That's winning at parenthood. Nobody could ever tell me otherwise.
Yeah.
To be silent in the face of injustice is to be complicit, right? So if you're gonna just walking past that, and that fight that my kid was in, the older brother of the child that was on the floor, Raiden came home and cried, "Mommy, he couldn't even walk. His brother had to pick him up like a backpack, mommy. Had to pick him up, and he keeps doing this. Pick him up like a backpack to carry him out." And side note, Raiden's girl best friend came, saw the fight. 2 boys on the ground, big boy beating the 2 of them up, takes her water bottle and throws it at him. Fight done. She run. Bully runs after her. Fight done. Champion things. But yeah, bullying in schools all year. I don't know. Help
Yeah.
me. Help
I,
me.
Aisha, you listening and learning?
This is definitely something I'm really looking forward to, but I know it might come. It will come.
And my kid is tiny. Yeah.
It will come. I mean, I would want to believe I'm raising warriors, those who could defend themselves, who will stand and for justice. So, I mean, yeah, it's exciting times.
Children will
think-
always live what they see.
Yeah.
yeah. You think
Correct.
about it as being exciting, not worried about it, are you?
I've seen some traits in my children, even at this young age, and I know they are tough. But I say, yeah, exciting, hopefully, because they stand for the right thing. And hopefully I can see they, just doing good even in those adversities. That's exciting is an interesting word, but yeah, I kind of, because I've been there, I know about fights. I went to school and, it kind of builds some kind of resilience. And I think that's what comes from that. Mhm.
You've heard the contention about the fighting and so on. Does that put a barrier in front of you, a concern about what is to happen with your children when they get to that stage?
Yes, especially for my son, because I know he will have some social issues in terms of being on the spectrum. And so I am a little skeptical for him. And I am kind of wary of, certain schools and the environment. I'm actually considering like private school, and I know stuff happened there as well. But I environment that he could strive in and people will understand him. It's hard to find in Trinidad. I know that. But I will always be there for him. I will have that open forum where he could come and he could share things with me and he could let me know what is happening, and I will try my best to guide him through, because I don't think there's any getting away from it totally, but I try to point out positives in it somewhat. And well, for my daughter, I don't even have a worry for her. That girl's a boss. She good.
As you say that, we have two grandchildren. One big, meaning he's 11 now, and one is just about 5. And we used to think that when the two start going to school, well, the big brother will have to look out for the small one. But I think it's the other way around. The little one is a kind of warrior and he's looking for fight himself, but that's another story. You heard Laureli's story about being a single parent. From what you've said, and I don't know your background, I'm not attempting to go into that, but how important it is you perceive and experience the reality of having another parent there, deeply involved in bringing up your children.
Yeah, I think it's essential. I think fathers do contribute a lot to
we have some power in this world. Okay.
Absolutely. Nobody
All
would ever
right.
say different.
Exactly.
I do agree with Laura in terms of women. We see things differently compared to men. Men have their contributions, but women are more nurturing. We will see, okay, this to do, that to do. Our brains ticking. Okay, they need lunch for tomorrow. We have to get bread. And,
Oh my God.
and I don't know what. But I know they're there for discipline, for structure, for other things. But I understand that men are important. I think it adds balance to the upbringing of a child. I grew up in a single parent home. My father passed away when we were very young, so my mom had to play both roles. She did an awesome job. She did what she has to do, and I know it wasn't easy. I know she probably was tired some days, and she had to get up and work and find people to look after us when she was working, and I know that was hard. And having somebody else in the home definitely does make it easier in many ways. And, just finding the balance in co-parenting, well, not co-parenting because we're married, but for those who have to co-parent and thing, I think it is essential in this society.
What of a kind of modern practice? I'm not saying that it did not exist before, because single women, all over the world, brought up the world, as it were, sometimes all by themselves. But there is a kind of attitude that is growing. It's not new, that some women think that men have certain uses, but really, we don't need to have them around all the time. Thank you very much, bye-bye, and I will call you. You don't call me, kind of thing. That must be, I don't know how prevalent it is, and how do you all feel about that? Starting with you, Aisha.
I believe that women will say that when they have probably depended on men in the past and they've been disappointed in some way, and they probably had no choice but to stand on their own 2 feet and did it well. I mean, they probably felt like if you get so independent that sometimes you're not willing to see positives in having a partner. But I think, it comes with a lot of compromise and a lot of working out things together and selflessness, because not all the time you get your way. Sometimes you have to hear the other person's way. But I think that motive came from women having no choice but to stand on their own 2 feet. Even though they don't mind having somebody there to get things done, to have a daily runnings of the household, we just have to do what we have to do.
I saw Priya smiling when I asked a question. So Priya, come in.
On the role of the daddy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
are they necessary? Are they necessary in this world?
Raiden's daddy is probably, like, he's not the best daddy, but he is the best daddy. Like, he's the best daddy. Like, he is the best daddy. And we don't get along all the time. We are not together. We are not a couple. I love him desperately. I love him so much because he has given me this kid, right? Without him, whatever went wrong.
Sorry, Priya. Without trying to mind your business, how is that possible? You love the man to death, and but yeah, really had to be a wrong kind of thing. Him
because you see, for me, I see so much. Raiden is this wonderful creature all on his own, and there are moments when I see myself in him. He'd be like, warm horse, like he have this kind of little attitude he might come with now and then. But then he has this very silent, capable. His father is not a loud man. He's a very capable man, very resourceful. If something breaks, he'll fix it. There was a high wind the Tuesday before Carnival, and it blew off my back door. Right? And I'm like, oh God, what to do? The man came and fixed the door. He fixed the door.
So he has some function to perform.
Let me tell you, if the world was ending or we had to be stranded somewhere, me, Raiden, and his daddy, we would live. Right? We would live. He's a very capable, and Raiden has, there's this fear for some single mothers raising boys that people are saying, how are we going to be a man? Raiden is a very manly child. His father is a manly man. Right? There's nothing, what is the word? I don't want to say there's nothing soft about him, because where Raiden is concerned, he's very soft. And you've met him, Raiden's daddy adores him. They don't rough play with me. I am not the woman to rough play with. Don't stand on my back. Don't stand on my head. Don't run up to jump, to give me flying hugs. I'm not about that life. And Raiden is getting so little things like that. And I count the little things. Raiden is 9 years old. I have never cleaned a sneaker. nor will I ever clean his sneakers. When his father is not cleaning his sneakers, he is going to clean his own sneakers. I don't put out garbage. I have not put out garbage in more than a year. Because why? When his dad is not putting out the garbage, whenever he comes, my son will put out the garbage. He's 9. You know? So men, well, I wouldn't say men, but I would say that Raiden's dad in this particular dynamic, this beautiful dynamic that we have, it works because I see, because I'm a real, soft heart. Everybody comes to me, that advocacy and outreach, and I want to feed anybody. Hungry people make me cry. Women experiencing violence make me want to fight. I'm big emotions all the time. And he is very subdued, very laid back. I have friends who've known him for years who say things like, does he actually speak? Does he shout? Yes, he does, but not very often anymore, right? So this is a beautiful, this dynamic that I see, especially as it relates to raising this human. Yeah. This child, okay, so I'll share this, and he's not around, so I'm going to share this story real fast with you all, right? Raiden wants to grow his hair, right? He's wanted to grow his hair since he was 6. He just turned 9. Every 4 or 5 weeks, his father says, yeah, when he goes for the haircut, I'll let them leave it a little longer. I'll let them, yeah. And every single time, he cuts it all the way off, right? And the child is a sweet child. He looks nice for the haircut. I like the haircut, but that is not what he wants. That is not what he wants. And he was traumatized by it. Like the last cut, he thought that, he's 9 years old now. He can finally grow his hair now. He wants autonomy. That's the word he uses. He wants body autonomy. But his father is very much old school. And little boys should have the haircut that his daddy says that he should have, right? So, like I said, he's a great dad. I obviously, we all want to change everybody we meet. Nobody is perfect. I want to change things about me. But this dynamic that I have, I'm raising a child, and that is the most important thing for me, and I stand on it. I am raising a child with somebody who really loves him, really wants the best for him, really loves him, and I say that, like, if I would say I would take a bullet for my child, he would eat bullets for that child, and that's enough for me. Whether it worked with us or it didn't work with us, Raiden has a good daddy, so, and he's just go back to where we started. Yes, he's an essential part of it. And so much of me, so much of who Priya is, has been shaped and formed by my father, right? So the cycle continues. Yeah.
Laureli, I saw you anxious to get involved. Go ahead.
just nodding and agreeing. So as mentioned before, although I was married, I raised my girls on my own. My girls' father was more, my father was more their father than anything else. So we shared a daddy, right? And men are so important, and sometimes they play the part, but sometimes they do not play the part. And I believe why sometimes they do not play the part is because in their lifetime, they have been disappointed by their own father or their parents. So it hasn't been inculcated in them. So then if they don't receive, then they have nothing to give. I don't know if I'm making myself clear.
Yes, you are.
You know,
you are. Yeah,
if there is childhood trauma from the man, then he has nothing. Then what he would do is pass that childhood trauma or that teenage trauma onto his children, because he has not received the love, the understanding, the nurturing that he should have received as a child, or to make him into the man that he and some men may think that I'm wrong, but I'm entitled to my opinion. And men need to know that they are needed. And then there are some women who make men feel that they are not needed. So if you treat the father of your child as nothing, and he already has the trauma of feeling like nothing growing up as a teen, coming into manhood, then he's not going to be able to offer anything, because you're continuing the cycle of making him feel like nothing.
Okay.
So I think as women, we need to try to help the fathers of the children heal from their trauma. Some of them choose to heal, some of them choose not to heal. But it is something that we as women need to look at, when we choose our mates, when we choose who is going. Sometimes we don't choose who's going to be the father of our children. Sometimes it just happens. But if you do have a choice, if you do have the opportunity to have a choice, you need to background check. And you need to know, if this man has had trauma, what is he going to offer to our children? What can he give to my child? Is he going to give him love? Or is he just going to continue the cycle of trauma that he's experienced through his lifetime?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And for me, my father, and I'll tell anybody this, Superman, best man in the world, best father in the world. I wish he was still here. I miss him every day.
Okay. Jones P. Yeah. Just to indicate to our listeners and those people who are looking at us, viewing, we're getting some experiences of mothers and how they have, how the aspirations they have had for their children, how those children have lived out those expectations, how they have gone on their own, and all kinds of experiences with children. We were supposed to have another mother here, Rachel George, but she had some difficulties with the audio. Rachel, if you're listening to us, don't be too worried. We have another program tomorrow, and I will include you in that program. And hopefully, you will be in a position where the audio will be a lot better. So you haven't lost the opportunity. Don't worry about it too much. I will get in touch with you after the program, and we'll talk about your participation for tomorrow. Okay, so we are kind of winding down the discussion now, and I want to hear from each one of you as to whether or not. Sorry. I want to introduce. It just struck me just now that I wanted to introduce another element of this whole motherhood and femaleship, if we could call it that. We have a female prime minister, and I don't want to get you involved in the party politics, PNM and UNCN. I'm surely not going down that distance. Fortunately, we have the opposition leader who is female now. So, talking about female leadership, we are covering both the two major political parties. So nobody can charge you for being biased in that arena.
Can I make a very biased statement?
Sure.
Somebody shared it on Facebook today. All three, president, prime minister, and opposition leader, South girls, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Carry on.
I feeling sorry for men like myself already, but that's another story. We get pushing in the background. But seriously, do you think that mothership is going to be good for the country? And I'm talking both as prime minister and as opposition leader, because I don't want to introduce the party politics and partisanship into the discussion. Just plain old simple, as you all have been saying, that women have gone through so much, and their capabilities have been tested and tried, and they have had to expand themselves. Is that a good thing for the country? Is that, as Priya said, we have three females at the head of the country as the president, the prime minister, and the leader of the opposition? Go ahead. Who wants to start? Whoever wants to start.
I just want to say that I'm so hopeful right now. Like, I did not realize how not so much hopeless as helpless I had been feeling for the last. I do quite a bit of outreach, so a lot of stories. I encounter a lot of stories, and I just have been feeling so helpless for the better part of the last year, I would say. And now, like, I don't know what I was expecting. I had absolutely no expectation. I wasn't involved in anything lead up to the, because Raiden can't take noise, right? So I can't leave my house, during election period. And for me, I just feel so hopeful. I
And
feel so
why is it?
hopeful.
Is it a reason for the individuals that involved that they will develop the programs and policies and
Well,
give guidance?
I the new faces is one of the things that I felt hopeful about. The new faces involved, um, and not to make a political thing, but I really like Penny Beckles, and I want to see, like, she came down for Borrow Day. I'm in Point Fortin, right? And she came down, and she's one of the first famous trainees I ever met many years ago, and she's always been so, like, a true patriot. And I consider myself a patriot. I love this country. I love Trinidad. I think that whoever can do anything to make it a better place, that we should. And I believe that she's one of those people. And we have all these new people, all these young new people, and so far, and I am very hopeful. I think that new eyes and new intentions and new hearts could make a difference.
What about the womanhood part of it? That's a particular interest of the discussion this afternoon.
Women, well, I guess what I'm saying without saying it is that the hopefulness for me comes from the fact that I do believe, like, there's a certain amount of heart, there's more heart in this government, right? And the new, and that's a statement that I feel how to qualify that by saying, I think that sometimes in my experience, I think men are too driven by how it should be, and brain, they're governed by hair, not hair, and it's policies before people, and maybe we or profit before people too many times. And I think that I hope that, you know, in the inaugural address of the prime minister, she said there'll be prime ministers before me and prime ministers after me, but there will never be another prime minister that loves you as much as me. I cried because that's what we want. We want love. This country needs love. That's where we come in from, love. And to say that in an inaugural speech of a prime minister, that gave me hope. I'm very hopeful, and I think that the way that people love them, the way that people love the head of the UNC and the head of the PNM, the way that they are loved, I think that that is going to trickle down. That's
Aisha, Aisha, Priya's call talking about womanhood in all of this and love and sometimes you have to forget of what is up there and get down here and so on. Do you feel that this new generation, as it were, can make a difference not because of their politics. Well, their politics will be influenced by their status as a woman or a man. But do you feel that this bodes well for the country, that women can express themselves at the leadership level of the society and do good for the society because of that?
Yes, but I wouldn't say I'm someone who's particularly into politics, but I do agree that women have strengths and that we do operate on a more emotional level compared to men who more logical. And sometimes that could be for our good and not for our good. But I want to believe that she does have people in her party who could support her and she could, come
Who's
to
it? Sorry, who's the she you're talking about now?
Prime Minister Kamala
Okay.
Prasad, yes. That she could, make the right decisions at the end of the day, despite even her being a woman. But so far she's been in power before. I've seen what she's done, and I hope that she could learn from her past experience, and that could definitely contribute to a better Trinidad and Tobago. I'm for it. Let's see how it goes.
Aisha, I must tell you that my eyes opened wide when you use that phrase, despite. being a woman? Is that a handicap?
There are some people who don't believe that women could be in leadership roles, but I am for that. I know that we have education, we have the same, not strength, but same mental capabilities of a man. Yes, we are more emotional, but that shouldn't, keep us back in any way.
Okay. Laureli.
Okay. I have a little different spin to it. Being a woman in a man's world, for me, politics is a man's world. I work in an industry that is considered a man's world, and I'm a senior person in a man's world. So it's a little bit more challenging to be. I'm looking at their roles in what in archaic days would be the man's role. I don't want to say I'm hopeful is not the word I want to use. I'm cautious. Because as you said, Aisha, we as women, we tend to think emotionally, and sometimes we take the head out of it, and we tend to think with the heart a little more, because by nature, we're nurturers. By nature, we're persons who try to keep things together, in a passive way. I am hoping that they are not passive, because
And when you're talking about you're talking about the
opposition, prime minister, everybody who is a female in the government. This is not a time for us to be passive. So I am I'm not hopeful. I'm cautious. That
how do you react to the notion that that some of us men adopt? She push here, what wrong with she? She want control, so that if these three women take over, men could start. I can't take this thing with this woman in charge.
Yeah. So funny you should mention that, because when I assumed my position, I work in a department there are only 4 females, and I have 25 males. And before that, it was all males. And when I assumed the role in my department, it was like some of the guys were like, yeah, I'm not reporting to her, because that's a man's role. And, I had to take my heart out of it. And I sat and I spoke to these men. I said, listen, I'm not going to get everything right as you would get it right. But this is why I need to depend on you. This is where I need your help, right? So I'm saying that they may not get everything right, but I'm hoping that they can depend on the male counterparts within the party or the government, as the case may be, and that they can lean on them for support. Because again, we cannot make decisions in the country. The country is in a state right now that we cannot make decisions alone with the heart. We need the head. And they need to make those decisions, maybe a little bit of heart, but more head right now. We're not in a position financially, economically, that we can think with our heart right now. It might be a little bit of heart, but for me, it needs to be more head. I am hoping that that is what will come out of this new, I'm proud that we have a female prime minister, a female president, a female opposition. But I am hoping that they think with little less heart and a little more head.
Let me tell a story at the risk of sounding like a male chauvinist. But some years ago, I had to go into a government department relating to my daughter, Ministry of Education, etc., etc. And I went into this place and I had to sit for a while to wait, whatever I had to wait for. And I looked around and there were only women inside of this office. And for a moment, it threw me off a little bit. Not in the sense that women were in charge, but are we developing a society where males are absent? They cannot be found anywhere. So I got up my courage to ask. As a reporter, my business is asking questions. You're pushy and so on. So I asked a lady about, well, where are the men? And she smiled a little bit. She said, yes, we have a man around here. Who goes to buy doubles for us when we're hungry? I said, my God. I'm just wondering provocatively if this pendulum, somebody's talking about pendulum, swinging to the other side and males become absent for procreation purposes, but beyond that, as I said earlier, a woman say, "Well, don't call me. I will call you when the time is ready." Are we? Is this situation where three women are in charge, and I'm not making the point that I'm not knocking that in any way. I'm just provoking responses that men could get displaced in this place. Not really.
No, I don't think so. And that's why I say I'm hoping that our female leaders can lean on because Prime Minister Bissessa she has experience as being a prime minister before. Madam Beckles, I don't think she's had experience being in opposition. Can't remember, I don't think so. And then you have Madam President being in the portfolio that she's in. I am just hoping that they can still relate to male counterparts and have good dialogue for the good of the country.
Aisha?
You know?
Yes, I absolutely agree. I think men, sorry, do have their role, they do have their strengths, and I believe that it is essential that both male and female come together and do what they have to do. And for women empowerment and all that, but I think men are essential. Yeah.
Okay. Even to go and buy doubles, right?
Even to go and buy doubles.
Priya.
Yeah.
You don't want your son. You don't want your son to grow up in a world in which he is, by the way, not essential, not important.
You see, I came up, I'd never had that feeling. And I know what it is. Laura, I know what it is to be in a room full of men, right? I know how it can be. And I know, so I'm not a card carrying member of any party, right? And I'm not planning to get a card anytime soon because I see the people, right? I'm a people girl. There are certain people. I'm like, God, I love him. Like I always write in Amy Brown love letters, right? Always on Facebook because I think he's awesome. And I took it personally that he wasn't there, right? That's aside. Forget I said it, right? But I'm people. I like to see when people get involved in politics. It doesn't matter. And I say this all the time. It doesn't matter what color you're wearing. If you get an insider there because you're fed up or whatever it is you're seeing and you're going forward with it, yeah, my support. I support it. Right? That's one. Two, at the age of 30, I was appointed to a state board. I was one of the youngest females to be appointed to a state board. And the chairman treated me like the secretary. You want to take the notes? You want to take the notes? You know? It was very, and that's the attitude. And he said, I've been on board for 20 years, blah, blah, blah. I said, you on board for 20 years? You should be prime minister by now. I said, look, I'm 30 years old and I know when I board for the first time. So for 20 years, you're in the same place. And I all you know me, right? All you know, but by now I have a little bit of talks, right? And I was one of the youngest females on the board. I was one of the youngest females to serve 3 consecutive terms and to be the audit subcommittee chairman, right? And to be able to sit and write a book like this, because I started law, I didn't get to finish it, so I still have that in the inside there. Maybe I'll finish it one day, but I saw it on the inside, how people could be disrespectful and talk down to you. And a point to note, when I was involved in the solidarity movement, Cuban embassy, Venezuelan embassy, Nigerian High Commission, all those in diplomatic corps, and the trade unions were involved. They never, a trade union, which is older men, really, they never spoke down to me. I was welcome there because there are spaces predominantly populated by men, but it's the type of men that are there too. If it's a group of fellas who think it's a boys' club and it should remain a boys' club, then it's going to be harder. But if it's a group of intellectual men who believe in progress, then it's not going to be, is it a skirt or a pants? It's going to be, well, who can do it, right? And that's where I stand firm on that. And one more thing, when you ask about aspirations for parenthood, I've said this so many times. I say this over and over and over. There's so many, Laura was touching on it. There's so many people, adults, walking around with deep childhood trauma, right? We see in it, there's a war in this country. Men are killing women, and we see it, and the women are losing, right? And what I'm trying to do, I'm giving it my best shot. God knows my heart. I'm trying to raise a child and give him a childhood that he does not need to recover from, hoping that he will grow into a man that no woman or anybody else would have to recover from, right? I say that all the time. That's my mission, right? And I just want to say, I know we're going to wrap up just now. I just want to say, I love hearing stories on motherhood. I love it. I'm all for the sisterhood. I'm all for the different, just sharing information and widening the tribe and networking as mothers and learning different skills of how to do it and how to support each other through different ways. Not just as mothers, as sisters, how do we do that to make this place a little safer, a little better for all of us, So
Final question, which I am sure will be provocative. Are women in Trinidad able to deal with the issue of race better than us men have dealt with it? Some people might think that, women, Indian women, Creole, African men have made this thing, Creole, African, Indian men have made this thing more than it really should be. And I'm saying and asking the question on the basis that, all over the world, race is an issue of humankind. So the question is, are women in Trinidad better able to deal with the issue of race than us men have dealt with it? Aisha.
If we better able, I try to understand the question. Are women in Trinidad able to deal with men of race compared to the rest of the women in the world? Is that...
No. Are women in Trinidad better able to deal with the issue of race? And I am saying that race is an issue, has always been in the last century an issue for us to deal with in the country. Us meaning all of us to deal with. And I'm asking whether women can deal with it better than men.
Whether women deal with issues of race better than men?
Correct.
Right. I haven't seen men in that arena. From what I've seen, being a Creole woman, I think, for example, it depends on the upbringing of the person. It depends on their perspective of people. I don't see race. I just watch everybody for their character, for who they are, their personality. And the people I know do the same. I have friends of all different type of race, male, female. I have a couple friends who have a East Indian girl who married a Creole guy, and they have a nice kid, Douglas baby. So to me,
A nice girl like me, right?
it don't matter. It all depends on the matter of the heart.
Yeah, yeah. And I asked that question in the context of what you've been saying and what we all acknowledge, that there are three women, head of the government, head of the opposition, and the president of the republic. And I'm asking it in the context, are we going to deal better with this issue, which has been hanging over our heads for centuries, really? With three women in charge, is there hope, Priya?
Yeah, the race dynamic definitely plays into so many parts, right? So Trinidad, we have race dynamics that come out during general elections, but during election period on a whole. But what we have in general is class. We have classism, right? Because all poor people will stick together, educated people stick together, old money, new money. We have we have the classes, right?
So
So
that's a Stalin position. Black Stalin has articulated on that basis, and maybe I'm sending a signal to Sir Charles because he plays a piece of music at the end of his choice. Maybe you're trying to infringe on his choice a little bit, but go ahead, Priya.
yeah, and I do want to say this, that the question, do women have to deal with or face with issues based on race more so than men? And I would say absolutely, because I was married to a black man and I kept his name. I was Priya Ganis Nanton. I'm still legally Priya Ganis Nanton. And people would meet me and say, I wondered what you look like because I watched your name and I didn't know Priya's an Indian name. What is Ganis? I never see that name before, but Nanton is a black name, and I had that. So my name was a key, was like a master key in this country because people couldn't figure it out. And that is my lived experience. So people tend to, this is Trinidad, people judge you on age, on race, on gender. Everything is judgment. People judge you on what this day and age, what you're wearing, like my nails are never done. I bake for a living. People will judge you. Why don't do your nails? There's so much judgment all around, right? But yeah, you see your face? That's how I feel, Mr. Fraser. I think in this life, to make a comment about the state of my fingernails, that says something about the person making the comment, right? More so than it does about my nails. But to move from there, dealing with race and understanding that typically the Indian woman is seen as that submissive woman in the house who making the sada roti and the takari and thing, and not so loud or have the long jura or whatever. We still have those kind of preconceptions, but then the black woman is seen as the head of the home and the strong black woman. And so we have that dynamic now at the head of the country, and it doesn't apply. And I love it. Because nobody is going to say that either of those women, are limited by their race or restricted by their race. And I can't see that happening. And all the race talk that's going on, that's people who probably not given a good day's work for honest day's work for honest day's pay. That's how I feel about that. If they have time to talk all that nonsense.
Laureli, you have the final say.
So I have to agree with Priya. When the racism card comes out, it's normally at election time. But then have you all ever played Mass on Carnival Tuesday? You ever see that melting pot? It is something to wonder. Yep. I have met...
Laureli, let me provoke that statement. Valentino, another Calypsonian. I'm trying to remember the line. He said something like, on Carnival Day, we come together. Far more poetic than I'm remembering to say it now. But when the carnival, this is his line, when the carnival come and pass, we going back to we race and class.
Yeah. I mean, I have had persons from abroad as far as the Netherlands come, to Trinidad for meetings, and I've had meetings with these people. And you take the foreigners out when they come to visit the office. And I had one who came from Miami, and he told me, he said, on another meeting, he said, listen now, y'all ever went to Trinidad? And the other people on the calls from Panama, it's like, no. He said, listen, when you go to Trinidad and you go to work with Laura, she could turn you into a Trini in 2 days. 2 days, just give her 2 days. And this is a white man. This is a white man. And their comments are always things like, we are so in awe of the diversity to see a black man walking with a white woman or a Syrian woman in the streets, an Indian marrying a black man or a black woman, as the case may be. Race is, like Aisha said, how you were brought up. If you do not see or hear race in the home growing up, then you don't know race. So anybody, for me, and I guess when you say if females, bear the brunt or the burden, or if they can, see race, I think it doesn't matter. I think it all boils down to how one is raised in their home. And, if you're raised with that race card in the home, then that's what is inculcated in you. So that's what you're going to know. But if you're not grown with that race card, then race doesn't exist. For me, it just doesn't exist.
So that the bottom line, do you think that the three women at the top of the country,
yes,
politically that is, will be better able to deal with the race issue than if it were three men?
I'm hoping they could.
Okay.
The only way to go from here is up. That's how I feel. From where we were to where we could be, so yes, the answer for me is yes, I am hopeful that there will be improvement.
I share that with Priya as well. I share that, but I'm still pending on. They need to rule more with the head than the heart this time. There needs to be love. Yes, I understand that. We do it with the heart, but the head
maybe
needs
some
to
right
be
brain,
more
not only left
brain.
brain.
Yeah, a little more right brain than left.
Okay, I'll support that.
Yes,
I'll support that.
Priya Ganis, Laureli Madeira, and Aisha Hunt, thank you very much for chatting and revealing something of yourselves, meaning as females and mothers to the national community this afternoon. Thanks again, and Chalo.
Thanks, Mr. Fraser.
thank you so much.
Lovely to meet you all, ladies. Laura,
Lovely
Aisha.
to meet you all, ladies. Maybe we should get together after this.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
I'm in Point Fortin. I'm 1 minute from the beach.
That's nice.
Once you invite Chalo and I.
Definitely. All they don't do is without us, okay?
Right.
Take care. Thank you.
Chalo,
Thank you
go
for
ahead.
having us.
Thank you very much, ladies, for being on the program. Thank you very much, Tony, for another fantastic and interesting program. All right, of course, remember, this is New Era TT Radio. Go check it out. All right.
You must give her respect and honor. Treat her like a queen, never abuse her. Like a flower.